Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Monday, the 18th day of July, 2022, Monday of the 16th week in Ordinary Time, the 16th week of the year. It is morning in Freising. We are getting ready to leave Freising to move to Ammergau to witness the Great Passion Play again that happens every 10 years, this year in 2022, because it should have been in 2020. Pandemic came in the way, so we'll be leaving in a few minutes to make our way down there. But one last view of one of the city streets here in Freising, and I think if I went over to there, oh yeah, they could see it right in the corner up there. That is one of the spires up, where is it? There. One of the spires of the great cathedral that rises above the city. So the lower city just waking up today. There's a coffee shop right over there. Quite another lovely, beautiful Carolina blue sky here at in Freising. Today's readings on this Monday, the 16th week of the year, center first on Micah, the prophet Micah, who we began reading on Friday. The prophet Micah basically is standing. God is standing in judgment through the prophet Micah about Israel and its iniquities and its failure to live by the laws and the commandments that God has given to it. Laws and commandments that are not meant to bind Israel, that are not meant to rob Israel of its freedom, not make Israel into a vassal or to a slave, but allow Israel to have life and to rejoice in what God has given and rejoice in this world that God has given to Israel, as well as its recognition of being God's chosen people. The great line that follows at the end of this passage from Micah are the three things that God asks for all of Israel to do, and that is basically to do right, to love goodness, and to walk humbly with God. That is always our commands. That is always our greatest command, to do right, to love goodness, and to walk humbly with God. To do that fulfills every obligation, every ritual desire or demand or what have you. Again, God says in Micah today that it is not sacrifices or ritual that God desires. It is the ability of us to be able to understand who and what God is, and to be able to rejoice in the fact that we have been chosen, we have been given this great life that God has given to us. In the gospel from Matthew today, again, people ask for a sign. They want a sign that God is at work in Jesus, that God is at work in what Jesus has to do, and what Jesus is doing. And Jesus just gets very fed up with this, and again, asking constantly, all this traveling by the way, Jesus asks constantly, why are you asking for signs? Why are you looking for signs? Why can't you just receive what is given you? Why can't you just rejoice in what you see in front of you? Why do you have to have some kind of proof? You know, and again, he uses Jonah and the queen of the south, the one who was probably Queen of Sheba, the one who was Solomon's contemporary, and in a way that Jonah fulfilled God's command, you know, by resting inside the whale and then being thrown out and being able to help to save Nineveh. So too, and the Queen of the South basically was stood in awe of what Solomon was able to do. So those signs of God at work in the strange and the wonderful and the glorious and the absurd and the exotic and the beautiful should be enough sign to show you that God is at work in Christ. If you cannot read that, if you cannot understand that, if you cannot see that, if you do not want to see that, if you remain blind to seeing that, then you will never know that God is in your midst. You will never know that God is at work in your lives. There's something always for us to consider and to think about. It is not great signs that bring us to faith, but it is almost sometimes the common, the ordinary, the absurd, the wonderful, the glorious, and the beautiful that do that in great and wonderful ways. And may the Lord give you his peace.